Now these Alfa GTVs, these 916s, are really coming up in the world as modern classics. Now, one of the problems that people face with these are doing stuff on them on their own, because they are, as a modern classic, slightly more complicated than some cars, or at least they seem slightly more complicated. They look a little bit frightening. Now, a job that is always regular on any car is timing belt or timing chain. In this case, it's a timing belt. So here we have it going around, down, along. Got our cam wheels here at the top here on this side of the engine, and then of course it's a V6, so got the other head here, another 2 camshafts, and then it goes round down the bottom. We've got an ancillary bolt all the way down in here. Got my hand on it there, ping, down there. So that ancillary belt has to come off, and also we have to take off the bottom half of the covers. Then that will give us access to the cam belt. Now it's a pretty tricky job, and we do have to use a number of special tools to actually be able to perform this job. But so long as, whatever car you're working on, so long as you've read up about it, done a little bit of homework, and got hold of the tools that you know you're going to need to do the job, then it should be a fairly simple task. Now, what we've done, we've got the cam covers off, we've got the plenum out of the way, so we've got lots of the stuff out of the way, all the boring stuff, so that we can gain access. Now, what we're going to have to do now is turn the engine over to top dead centre. Once we've got it in top dead centre on number one is on this rear head here, or left-hand bank as you would call it. As soon as we've got it onto top dead centre on number 1, we can then lock the cams down before we take the belts off. It's vitally important that we actually do this and make sure we've got it all in the correct orientation, because otherwise this is an interference engine and we could start having trouble with the valves colliding with the cylinder, with the piston tops. So we're going to get it to top dead centre, lock the cams down, and then we can start removing the rest of these belts and make some more progress. Right, so we've had a heck of a problem getting the cam belt covers off. I mean, these little bolts here, what I would suggest, if your car has anything similar to those, then make sure that you've got a brand new fresh set to put back in, because they were an utter nightmare to get out. You don't want to leave that for the next person, and that next person may be you. So now what we're doing, we've got our top dead centre gauge in the spark plug hole. So I'm just going to turn the engine just the last little bit so I can get number 1 piston to top dead centre. So I'm still going up, the piston's still going up. I'm on the crankshaft pulley at the moment directly. Okay, it seems to have stopped around about there. So the engine is now at top dead centre. What I need to ascertain is whether that's firing stroke or not. So looking at it, I would say our valves there are on the rock. So what I need to do is come around another full revolution and get it onto top dead centre, firing. Right. So now you can see that the cams for each valve are away from the followers, from the cam followers, which means that the valves are fully closed. So we're at firing on number 1. Now, how does that correspond to our timing wheels here? So I've moved forward a little bit. Here we have the cap from the cam bearing. That's by number 1 exhaust. And I've got this rather nice profiled cam locking device, which should go on. If it goes on easily, that should be it. Yep, perfect. And rather than use the original, the cam cap bolts there, I've got some slightly longer ones, admittedly with some washers on so that they won't bottom out. And then we should be able to lock this exhaust cam from the left head in place. somewhere really handy. I'll just put the right socket. Here we go. So just tighten that down. There we go. There we are. So now I'm going to repeat the same with all the cams, get them all locked down, and then we can start removing the belt and the tensioners. So here's our new belt tensioner. As you can see, there's an elongated slot there at the bottom, and there's one fixing at the top, both of which are Allen bolts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the bottom one. I'm using a nice long extension so I can get plenty of purchase on it from the bottom. I'll then go to the top one, remove the tensioner altogether. The old one will go in the bin, and we'll in due course fit this nice new one. There we are, nice and loose. Right, now what we have to do to tension the belt is use this fairly Heath Robinson design of tensioner. This kind of fits onto the bottom alternator bolt, and this part fits onto this water pump stud here, this intrusion there. There we go. So that's in, beautiful. And then we have to fit this rod through, and hold on a second, get this little paddle thing behind the tensioner. You may need to use a little bit of leverage to get it in. And then once that's in, all you do is tighten the nut which pulls forward the tensioner, set it to the little points that are marked on the tensioner, lock off the little grub screw there, and there you go. That's your belt on and tensioned correctly. Right, so that's everything boxed back together, everything's connected up. We've got the cam covers on, plenum's back on, everything's sorted. Now is the moment of truth. Lights are on, ignition. There we have one Alfa back on the road.